The amount of volume that you're doing is killing your gains because you're following the advice from dudes who are abusing drugs. And it just doesn't work for naturals. Too little volume might not be enough to maximally stimulate enough growth, okay? And too much volume creates more fatigue than you can recover from. For natural lifters, both are problems and both lead to the same outcome, and that is no progression, no progress. And to top it off, if you're not doing two critical things that actually drives muscle growth, it doesn't matter where your volume is anyway. So in this video, I'm gonna show you the two critical things that you need to grow. I'm gonna show you why low volume fails. I'm gonna show you why high volume backfires. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to structure your training as a natural to help you grow. Now, before we talk about volume, we need to address the two important variables. Because if these two things are not implemented into your training, then volume becomes irrelevant. You could do low volume, you can do moderate volume, you could do high volume. It's not gonna matter. You won't grow, you guys, unless, of course, you're a beginner or you're taking them drugs. But I assume that you're not a drug abuser, and what we call that is a PETA. I just made that shit up. Performance enhancing drug addict. It's good stuff, isn't it? So I assume you're not a PETA, and I assume you're not a beginner. So yeah, you want to start things off the right way, okay? So the two critical things. Number one is you need to get stronger over time. So progressive load, okay? Super important. And we do this in bodybuilding repetition ranges, anywhere from 6 to 30 reps. Number two, your sets need to be hard. So, intensity. So proximal failure or muscular failure, okay? Those two critical things are really important. They have to be dialed in before we can even give any type of volume recommendations. Now, why do naturals need this? Progressive load and intensity. We rely on progressive load and high effort sets because, guys, we do not have the drugs to enhance anabolism, okay? Muscle growth comes from creating high internal mechanical tension. And we do this by using heavier external loads and also pushing sets hard so the fibers experience high stress. If the load isn't increasing over time, the stimulus is not increasing. So the body has no reason to adapt, okay? And if sets are not taken close to failure or to failure, it becomes harder to recruit the high threshold muscle fibers that we want to recruit. These are the fibers that have the greatest potential for growth. So for naturals, the formula is really, really simple, you guys. Progressively lift heavier over time, right? In good form, okay? Not saying sloppy. And make each set count by pushing it to near failure or failure, all right? So that is what drives real muscle growth, real hypertrophy. And this is what we need before we try to optimize volume. Now, the problem with low volume routines is that it's not enough of a stimulus to maximize growth. Okay, and this is the pertinent word, maximize. So what is low volume? 1 to 4 sets per muscle group per session. And usually you see this within HIIT circles, high intensity training circles. Typically, that is 1 set to failure. And hey, guys, I like HIIT. It's how I grew. If you watch some of my previous videos, it's how I grew from, I was plateaued. For 3 years, I was plateaued. Okay, I made like 10 to 15 pound muscle growth gains in 3 years. Took so long, it shouldn't have. And then I found HIIT, and I applied the protocols, and I grew 15 to 20 pounds in about 9 weeks. So when I focused on getting stronger and going to failure, my body changed rapidly. Okay, guys? So I learned some really critical lessons getting involved in HIIT. I got involved in the community online, and I did these protocols exclusively on myself and my clients, because I've been a trainer already for like 6 years. So I did them exclusively on myself and my clients for about 2 to 3 years. I thought it was the holy grail, you guys. I thought I had found the holy grail. I found gold. But I realized that it didn't work for most of my clients. It worked for me for those 9 weeks. And then I applied it to my clients, and I got some results, but it didn't work for everybody, okay? And I also realized that I needed to change what I was doing to get additional growth, which was add more set volume. Now, that doesn't mean I went back to high volume, druggy, steroid routines, because that's what I was doing prior. I wasn't focused on strength. I wasn't focused on failure training. I was doing a bunch of high volume fluff sets. But I knew I needed to add more volume to get another level of growth, shall we say. So from that point on, though, I'm so thankful I went through this, and I got really involved, and I read so much. You know, I read all of the Nautilus bulletins. I read Mentor's books, a few other books. I went down this rabbit hole. I was in the forums. I was in the debates. I think I mentioned this before. I argued, when this is a little bit later after this, after I was kind of merging out of HIIT, but I was arguing with Fred Hahn in a Facebook group. It was like 700 comments of me and Fred Hahn going back and forth. So that was funny and fun. It was fairly diplomatic, though, ish. You know, he can be a little rowdy. That Fred can be a little rowdy, and I was pretty rowdy back then too. But from this point on, when I thought it was the Holy Grail and I was doing low volume routines and I focused on strength and intensity and I grew, I adapted from there. After 2-3 years of doing this exclusively, I started adding some more sets. But, this is the important thing I want to mention. I knew that progressive load and intensity were extremely important variables. So I maintained those principles in my own training as well as with my clients. But bottom line, for most guys, low volume, it's not going to maximize muscle growth, because in most cases, it's not enough of a stimulus, okay? I'm being very careful with my language here, okay? Most guys, in most cases, won't maximize, all right? So you have to be, we got to be very careful with what we say. It will grow muscle. HIIT protocols will grow muscle. But in most cases, for most guys, it's not going to maximize muscle growth. Okay, so this is the problem with lower volume routines. And also, FYI, for anybody that needs to hear this, the guys that are muscular, that promote HIIT, they do HIIT, okay? And we know who they are. And the reality is they are using stuff. You guys, they are taking stuff. Many of them have been doing these protocols for years with little growth. Like I said, I was in these HIIT circles. I know what everyone looked like 10, 15 years ago. There were a couple exceptions. There was like one natural exception, and then a couple other exceptions, but they were still using something, okay? But for the majority of the guys back then, when I was running in these circles, you would never think that they lifted, okay? So most of them had minimal muscle mass. Now I'm seeing the same guys with a lot more muscle. Guys, the low volume routine, it didn't just start magically working all of a sudden, okay? It's the white and black market drugs they are now taking. This is the difference, right? There are low volume protocols. The reality is it did not maximize their muscle growth. The drugs did. That's what happened. That's the difference. Okay, so moving on to high volume. We have problems with this as well. Now, I categorize this as 15 plus sets per muscle per session, okay? Now, if you watch my other videos, I look at volume on a session-to-session basis. I don't categorize it on a weekly basis. I know that's how everybody does it. I know that's what's in the research. That's not how Jay does it, okay? So I look at volume as a stimulus. We have a certain amount of stimulus that we implement in the session, and then do we recover from that stimulus? It's not, your body doesn't know.
Oh, well, it's been 7 days, and we have exactly 24 and a half sets of this for this muscle group.
No, we go in, we do the session, we attack it with a certain amount of volume, and then we have a recovery period, whatever that is for that muscle group, and then we do more volume. We implement another session with a certain amount of volume, okay? So we look at this on a session-to-session basis, not weekly basis, all right? So per session, higher volume is 15 plus sets. You know, this is kind of a continuum. It's not like cut off where it's like, ooh, well, 14 is still moderate, 15 is high. It's a continuum, guys, okay? So this is the best that we can do on that continuum. And this is what I'm giving you. Now, this is druggy volume territory, okay? Just like the low volume, it works when you're on drugs, okay? So the same thing applies to high volume, you guys. And this goes to show you that program design can be suboptimal when you are using PEDs, or if you're a PETA, okay? The issue with high volume is different than low volume. So it's not the same. This is where you can overtrain. So with low volume, you're under training, basically. High volume, it's potentially, you could overtrain, right? And this is why the guys on the drugs, they don't experience this, okay? So the issue with high volume comes down to really two things here. And we are going to make that smaller, bring it right here. We will erase this. It's exciting. Doodling. It's fun. So, we have two issues, okay? Progressive load stall or regression. Okay, that's issue number one. If you do too much volume, you'll have a hard time recovering from it, which means your strength progression can stall. If this, and remember, we got to go back to what the requirements are for naturals. Okay, and I have lots of videos on this, you guys, like the Natty Hypertrophy Pyramid. Go watch some of those videos. I talk about the order of importance of what natties need. So this is for naturals. It's not for guys that are using a whole bunch of shit, okay? This is for us natties. It's different, all right? So we have to focus on strength and intensity. Those are the two most important variables for muscle growth, okay? So if you do too much volume, you could stall in progressive load, strength, okay? If this stalls, so does muscularity, okay? Now, there is a relationship between strength and muscularity, and we use strength as a proxy for muscle growth. And this will appear over time. This is session to session, and it's a pattern. And you will notice this. Now, there could be other reasons why that you might not get stronger, okay? Like there's something could be messed up somewhere else. So those are whole different, conversations and different routes that we could go. We're not going to go into that. But it can very much be because you're doing too many sets and you're not recovering session to session, and so you're not getting stronger, you stall, and potentially you regress. Okay, so that's number one. That's issue number one with doing too much volume. Because again, remember, we need to focus on strength. Issue number two, intensity drop, so effort. So relative intensity is what I'm speaking to. Your how much effort you give. Okay, if you do too much volume within the session itself, effort drops. And this reduces stimulatory reps. Okay, so the more sets you do, you're not putting out. You can either train really hard and briefly, or vice versa. And again, this is not black and white, right? So, because I advocate moderate volume, not high, not low, which we'll get into here in a second. But this intensity is on a continuum. It's not like, oh, once you go past 5 sets, no, number 6 is just completely wasted. Or in HIIT, once you do a second set, that intensity, the intensity for set number 2 is just junk volume. It's wasted. It's not worth anything. That's not true, right? So again, it's on this continuum. And the more sets you do, the more your intensity drops, okay? So this can lead to sets that don't have a strong enough stimulus. So that is what we call junk volume. They don't net you, it's not a stimulus that nets you growth or potential growth. That is junk volume, essentially. Okay, so higher volume from session to session can stall your strength or potentially regress it. And if you have numbers and data and you're objective, you can see that. If everything else, like this is why we have patterns. It's not just the next session, because what if you didn't get sleep, the night prior, you might have a bad session and you might regress or stall. So we look at it over time, okay? And we take all these different data points into account, but we have to be objective, and we have objective data that we look at. Okay, so session to session, over time, progression can stall, progressive load can stall or regress. And then within the session itself, intensity can drop, which is what we don't want, because we need those stimulatory reps, so those growth reps. Those reps really matter, and the more that you do, the lower your effort is, your intensity, so it's not as productive. They're not productive sets. Now, we have natty bros out here saying more volume worked for me. That's what I did, and I'm natty. And I had some guys say,
And I look like I'm on steroids.
okay, and the guy's anonymous, of course. It's like he makes this comment. By the way, a lot of these comments, you guys, that I get, that I talk a lot of shit, right? I talk a lot of shit about people leaving comments. You don't see them. You know why? Because I shadow ban these assholes. You're not going to see these cock munchers. Because guess what? You're going to get shadow banned. I love it. It's my channel. I love it. Oh my God. So leave your nasty ass comment. Your ass is going to get shadow banned. But you won't know. That's the beauty of it. That is the beauty. Oh, it is such an amazing thing. Thank you, YouTube. Love it. Thank you so much. You get shadow banned. I make a comment. Nobody else sees the comments. No one sees your comment. No one sees my comment. Except for you. I don't even see it. Once I shadow ban you, I don't even see your bullshit anymore. It's beautiful. So this is why, like, you guys, nobody sees the comments, and I just talk a lot of shit, because the comments happen. You know, there's a lot of hate out there, and I get it. We all love to hate, but the comments come in. So these guys, these natty bros that are saying, oh, I do high volume. Okay, cool. I question your intensity. That's what I question. I love that you're natty. Like, if you're truly natural, dude, awesome. You're a brother. I love it. I love you. You know, we got to stick together in this realm, you guys, because most of these clowns out here are using and abusing and influencing the kids, and it's not good, right? We know that. I know it. We all know it. So I'm not trying to bash any of these natty bros. I think we all need to rally behind each other. I think that's really important. But if you got a natty guy, if you're out here saying that I did 25 plus sets and that's the volume I need, I just question the intensity, okay? If you can train chest, or maybe you don't like to train hard. That's a thing, guys, okay? I get it. Maybe there's, you know, maybe you hate training legs, and just maybe your intensity, you just don't want to put out anymore. You'd rather spend longer in the gym, higher volume, and just not put out the high intense effort that is required to get in and get out. So that is a thing, I understand. So if you can train chest for 20 plus sets, 25 plus sets, chances are you're not training hard enough. You're not pushing close enough to muscular failure for those 20 sets. If you're not training hard, then you have less stimulatory reps for each set. So, like I said, those reps, those stimulatory reps at the end, they matter. Those are essentially the growth reps. At the end of a set, they are the reps that actually stimulate growth. So, if you have 1, 3, 5, 8, and I've done some videos on this before, 15, and this is the failure point. These reps, probably from like 10 to 15, and failure is 15, so you can't hit 15, you fail on rep 15. From like rep 10-ish, those are the growth reps, okay? Those reps matter the most, all right? So if you train far away from failure, then yeah. So if you get to 10 or 11 in this example, and you stop, and you don't do rep 12, 13, 14, or 15, or try for 15, then yeah, you probably need more sets to make up for it because you need more of those growth reps. So you would need more volume to have more of those stimulatory growth repetitions, okay? And this is the reason why a person would need more volume, right? Need, because their sets are lower intensity, all right? This is how this plays out in most cases. So either you can't go there and some people can't, right? I have noticed in my personal training, because I always do a consultation whenever I meet people, or they want to train with me, I do a consultation. Yeah, I just meet people. I just meet someone. Hey, let's do a consult. Sit down. I don't know what you want, but I'll sell you something. Yeah, so when people want to train with me, right? I do a consultation and I get to know their background and their goals, and then I take them through a light session, well, maybe like a session of like 3 to 5 movements, not a full 50-minute session. And I push them. I instruct them, I show them what I want to do. We move weight slow, we go to muscular failure. I try to get them there because I want to see if they can work, right? It's very important to me that somebody, and it doesn't matter how much they can move, it could be 10 pounds, it could be 100 pounds, doesn't matter. I want to make sure that they can produce the effort that is required for me to help change their body. Like, I need the effort. Effort intensity is so important, guys. I can't stress this enough. And so during the consultation, I see if they have it. And what I've noticed is about 70% of people, these are my numbers. This is just kind of, I'm ballparking these percentages. It's what I've noticed with my time as a personal trainer. About 70% of people can go to failure through coaching. If they're being coached, they can do it, okay? 15% of people can do it on their own. They don't need coaching. They're able to get there, okay? And the other 15%, they can't. They can't at all, even with coaching. Even with someone standing over them saying, no, keep going, they quit. Things fall apart. Either they start to go faster, or they fall out of form, or they just quit. You know, typically it's not a form issue. Usually they will just stop, right? If they fall out of form, or if they go a little faster because they're trying to get out of the situation, right? It burns, it hurts. They're just trying to get out of the situation. That's why form will be, they'll adjust form, or they'll go a little faster because they offload the muscle. So these things happen subconsciously during each repetition to make it easier, basically. So that can be worked out. But if somebody just quits and they have another 6 reps to go, that is a problem. Okay, so the reality is some people just can't go there. They cannot go there. So in which case, they might need more volume. They can get somewhat close, right? In this example, maybe they get to 10, maybe they get to 11, and then they're done. They're like, nope, I ain't doing this. So yeah, this kind of a person right here would just need to, they would essentially need more volume. But that's like I said, that's a smaller percentage. 70%, like that's like 15%. So we're at like, what is it? It's 85% of you, it doesn't even apply. The other 15%, you know, it hurts. It hurts. You put it down, right? That's like 15% of you. And if you're in that 15%, okay, maybe whatever, you guys, you need more volume. But if you're the other 15%, like grow some balls, push. If you can't do it on your own, hire a coach who will do it safely. Okay, you'll be in the 70 percentile. It's fine. All right, but those last reps really matter. And this would be the only reason why you might need more volume, right? So, okay. Yeah, guys, now look, if you need help with any of this, I want to remind you, okay, top link in the description, click it, tap it, watch those videos, check out what I have going on in the Natty Aesthetics community. If you just want to come hang out and get on the coaching calls every week and hang out with Jay and just bullshit, then let's go. Click that shit. All right, so maximizing growth for natties, okay? This is where we are. So it's not low volume, it's not high volume, okay? So low volume, like I said, 1 to 4 sets. It's usually too low, okay? And then 15 plus sets, it's usually too high. Now this is, again, per muscle group, per session. So where do we land? 5 to 10 sets per muscle group, per session is optimal for naturals, okay? And, well, where's your research on that? Well, I mean, my paper I wrote last year, I went through all of this, okay? And basically, one of the recommendations in there was for moderate volume for natties, and that's based on the natty hypertrophy pyramid, okay? So, well, where's your research? Well, there you go. Go read that, okay? Go find my paper. You can find it. Go click some links on my bio in the description. You'll find where I have all my publications, all right? So there's your research. And outside of that, that's just Jay Science. That's Jay Science, bitch. That's how we do it over here, okay? So I typically recommend in this 5 to 10 set realm per muscle group, per session, I recommend starting lower, okay? And then assessing from there. So that means basically we start here at the 5 set realm, the 5 set number, all right? Now, remember guys, these guidelines, they are predicated on a few things, okay? This is really important to remember this. When we look at these guidelines, when I say 1 of 4 is too low, 15 plus is too high, and around the right spot is about 5 to 10, okay? It's predicated on a few things. 1, you're natural, okay? 2, muscle growth is the goal, not muscle preservation, okay? Muscle growth requirements to grow, muscle growth, it's different than muscle retention requirements, okay? Holding on to muscle, once you acquire it, holding on to it, you could do HIIT protocols. You could do that. You can do low volume. You could train, you can do a full body once a week. Okay, you just have to make sure you maintain your strength and it's intense. You can do low volume protocols and hold on to your muscle. So the volume that you need to acquire the muscle is higher, but it's not high volume. You don't need to do dumb shit to get there, right? High volume, steroid junkie, dumb shit. But it is higher to acquire it. The volume demand is higher to acquire the muscle than it is to hold on to the muscle, okay? This is very important to understand that. So it is not just muscle retention guidelines. This is muscle growth guidelines. Number 3, you're getting stronger, as you should, right? Number 4, it's intense. So you're training close to failure or to failure, as you should. Okay? Now, like I've said in my other videos, I don't think you should go to failure on every single set, but we either have to get close to it or just go all the way. All right? And this is why, or this is how, or this is based off of 5 to 10 sets. You're natty, you're trying to grow muscle, and you're getting stronger, and it's intense, okay? So that's what that recommendation is based on. It's essentially these things have to be checked off. You have to check those things off the box, okay? So the volume growth curve for natties looks something like this. Let's see. We'll do this. Oh, do a cute little graph here. Let me know how cute my graph is, guys. Let me know how cute this bitch is. So we got muscle growth over here. We have volume, which would be sets. Then we have 3, we have 5, 10, 20, 25. So basically, it's something like this. Okay. And this is going to be the optimal zone for natties. Again, this is too low. It's not enough. To maximize, right? This is going to be too high. You can't recover, right? So naturals need enough volume to stimulate and maximize muscle growth. Okay, again, just want to be very clear, the operative word is maximize. Okay, I don't need anybody in the comments, Punk Johnny 57. Well, you can still grow with, yeah, I know, I did. I get it, my guy. I know you can grow with HIIT. I had some clients grow with HIIT. I grew with HIIT. Okay, I understand, but maximize. Okay, we want to maximize it. Now, if you do too much volume, right, like I said, they have a hard time growing because you can't recover. Okay, we get run down and overtraining becomes a reality. So basically you're undertraining in one scenario, and you could very well overtrain in another scenario. Okay. So if you are stuck and you haven't grown, and it's a program design issue, because it could be sleep, it could be food, it could be stressed out, there could be a whole host of other factors. But if it's a program design issue, okay, here is the recommendation. If you're doing high volume routines, right, then I recommend that you reduce volume. Okay, reduce volume and focus on strength and intensity. Okay, focus on getting stronger. That is gonna bother me right there. Whoa, what are we doing? Strength and intensity. So reduce the volume. Go down to the moderate, okay, 5 to 10 per muscle group per session. Focus on progressive load. Focus on taking your sets close to failure, but make sure you do it safely. But you got to get close, if not to failure, okay? So if you're doing high volume, this is what you need to focus on, okay? Whoa, man. Whoa. Holy mackerel. Holy smokes. Now, if you're doing low volume routines, HIIT, right? Then I recommend, you know what I'm going to say, increasing set volume. And if you're doing HIIT, you probably have the progressive load and intensity concepts taken care of. Now we just got to increase how many sets that you do. Okay? I know this can be scary. I know this can be daunting because you've been indoctrinated by the HIIT dogma that if you do 2 sets, if you do anything more than 1 set, you are overtraining and all your gains are going to be lost, and you might as well just stop, just quit training. You're done. If you do 2 sets, you're done, right? You might just pass out and die. Who knows? And it's funny. So when I was merging out of HIIT and I started experimenting with more than 1 set, because I was doing 1 set to failure. I was running that, you guys, for like 2-3 years. I want to say closer to 3. And I remember like it was yesterday. It was in a Fitness 19, and everybody knew, like the trainers, and they knew the program. They because you know I was always vocal and always arguing with people online and in the gyms and other trainers, and I'm like, you're doing that wrong. You know how it is in HIIT, guys. These guys are radical. And so everyone knew my stance, and it's so funny. I remember it like it was yesterday. I decided I'm going to do a second set. And I did my 1 to failure. And I was getting ready for my second set. I didn't move from the machine. And in my mind, of course, we all think that people are watching us, and people, no one cares. No one. But I'm thinking like, oh, I've argued with so many people, and people know my protocols, and all my clients do 1 set to failure. That's all we do. They were like 25-minute sessions. This has been my whole jam, identity-wise, as a personal trainer for like 3 years. So I sit there and I kind of look around. I'm not even joking, you guys. I look around, kind of see who's around, who's watching me. And of course, hindsight, nobody cared. Nobody cares. I'm like looking around like, oh man, I'm like nervous to do a second set because I was indoctrinated. The HIIT dogma got me. The HIIT Bible, it got me, you guys. So I was looking around and I was sweating bullets, and I was embarrassed almost to do a second set. I felt weird about it, and almost embarrassed, didn't want to be seen doing it, but almost like I was going back on my beliefs. Okay, and that's not how I am. This is probably another reason psychologically that it was affecting me, because I'm very, like, I'm stubborn. You guys, you will not meet a more stubborn person than me. I promise. I can tell you stories of me and my friends, me and my buddies, of the lengths that we have gone to out stubborn the other person. Basically, like, not budging on what, like, I can tell you stories that would blow your mind. Okay? When my mind is set on something, it's done. We're done. We're done. It's done deal, you guys. It's a close story. So I think that's part of why psychologically I was like apprehensive of doing a second set, looking around. Is anybody watching me? Ooh, I don't know if I should do a second set. And I felt like a traitor. That's the word. I felt like I was betraying HIIT. I was betraying the community. I was betraying myself. I was betraying everybody, my clients. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then, of course, I got over it. And then another session, I did another set. And then I started merging into more sets. And I was like, okay. All right. And then I started arguing more with the HIIT guys. Then I became their enemy. There was a lot of guys that loved me back in the day. And then I started kind of pushing back on it. And then I started getting hate. And it's funny, that whole thing was funny, because I'm like, oh, okay, what's your transformations? That was the funniest part about the whole thing. Because I was in a bunch of arguments with a bunch of HIIT guys. I'm like, here's a transformation. It's on Facebook. I'd upload it. Here's a transformation. Let's see yours. You know, because they would argue, oh, you don't need to do hip thrust, and you're doing too much volume. I'm like, oh, well, here's a client that I have. Look at these results. Guys, I have a lot of results. Natty transformations. I'm like, check this out. Let's see who you trained with your one hit wonder. Show me. Nobody could. Nobody could. Nobody could show me evidence of, okay, themselves, but again, a lot of them were, not all of them, but a lot of them didn't have a ton of muscle. And a lot of these guys were trainers. Cool. Show me the results. Show me the transformations. And show me drug-free if you show me transformations, show me drug-free transformations. Show me what you have done for other people using your HIIT protocols that are natural. I want to see that transformation. I have so many. I have so many of them, you guys. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I remember those arguments, and when I was pushing back and giving more ideas, they didn't like it. And I'm like, well, I'm getting results. Are you guys getting client results? I know I am. Are you? And they weren't, okay? They weren't. So anyway, so yeah, it was weird to do another set, a third set, a fourth set, and it was all, and it's okay. Like, I broke out of it and I started educating myself more and learning more and experimenting, and yeah, my views changed. And that's okay. That's okay. And here we are, fast forward today, I can back my shit up. I can back it up with these videos, these long form videos and teaching. I can back it up with my results, the books that I've written, the papers that I've published. Okay, guys, like I've been doing, like, this is my jam. All right, you guys, this is my jam. Okay, I'm not some post-COVID trainer here. Like, oh, it'd be fun to be a trainer online, be an influencer online, because I have a body and I can whore myself out on the internet, and I can take videos and selfies and post stupid ass reels on Instagram and get hundreds of thousands of followers, even though I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah, we all love that, don't we? So, okay, where does frequency come in? So glad you asked. Wow, you're in luck, my guy. You are in luck. Look, if you want to learn how frequency ties into this, check out my next video. I will link it at the end. I cover exactly how often you need to train based on what stage of training you are in. So beginner, intermediate, advanced, and it's based off of muscularity, okay? Where you are with how much muscle mass that you have. And as always, if you want to bypass all of that and train with me instead, then join the Natty Aesthetics community. Top link in the description. Tap it, go there, sign up. Let's go, guys. Okay. If you need help with any of this, let me know. And remember, guys, we have natty physiology. Natty physiology. Druggy physiology is enhanced. So stop training like those bozos.
Hell yeah!